Well, this is JC right back at you. This song here is a truck driving song. I call it Just This Side of Nashville. And the thing about this song is, I wasn't driving a truck when I wrote it. Matter of fact, I was selling cars. And I had sold a car to a fellow from over around Nashville way. I was down in Turlock, California. And after he took delivery of the car and drove away, one of the salesmen came over and said, "Boy, if that guy doesn't make the payments now, you know you're going to have to go pick it up." And I said, "Yeah, I guess so." And he said, "It's a long ways over there." "Where was it?" And I said, "Well, it was a little town just this side of Nashville." And this guy, his name was Snow, he said, "You know, that sounds like a song title." And I thought, well, I guess it is. And so I went home, and being a truck driver too, I wrote this song called Just This Side of Nashville. Just this side of Nashville, I pulled into a stop to coffee up and let my rig cool down. The service stalls were empty, the place was really dead, but Jimmy was the only truck around. So I bumped the tires and checked the lights and called up on the log and listened to that diesel engine purr. Then I shut it down and went inside for coffee and some pie. And that, my friend, was when I noticed her. At the far end of the cafe, where the booth's against the wall, she was sitting with a pencil in her hand, scribbling on a napkin and gazing at her cup. And she looked as if she had lost her closest friend. Well, I felt like talking some, and so I strolled on back to her booth, and I asked her if she'd mind if I sit down. Well, she shook her head and grinned, then she looked into my eyes, and for a second there, I thought I saw her frown. Then I said, "You look familiar, like I've known you somewhere else." And an ever-knowing grin spread across her face. She'd heard that line 100 times from one guy or the next, and she said it could have been most any place. Then I asked her where she's gone, and she said no place for sure. So I said, "Come on along and ride with me." Well, I paid the check, and I took her bag, and I stowed it in the old truck. Then we talked about the places that we'd seen. Well, we rode along together a half a dozen years or so, and all this time I was afraid she'd leave me soon. 'Cause a girl as sweet as this girl, she won't usually stay too long. It gets old for her to hear that same old tune. But she stuck it out there with me in the cab of that old truck. We laughed and sang, but we had our quarrels too. And one day outside of Nashville, I saw her frown again. And she said, "My dear, I'll soon be leaving you." And she called my name out softly, and the teardrops filled her eyes. And she said, "My life began when I met you." She grinned that same old grin again, and she gave my hand a squeeze, and our eyes met once again, and then I knew. See a doctor, she'd never tell me why, but her bright blue eyes grew fainter every day. When you learn the one you live for hasn't very long to live, and there isn't very much that you can say. So I held her closer to me and I felt her breathe a sigh as she brushed the burning teardrop from my cheek. And she whispered low, I love you, dear, you've made this all worthwhile. And she closed her eyes, then she went to sleep. So I left her where I found her, in a little country town, beneath an oak tree growing on a hill. And I honk when I go by there, and I always shut it down at that same old truck stop just beside